brother. You cannot win.
My old friend. You and I.
We don't get to hide.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Thrall. One of Warcraft's main faces, and maybe even the most important characters to Warcraft's very identity. He who set up the orcs, that they can be more than just villains in your story, that they can be heroes too. From going from a slave gladiator, leader of his whole people and the Horde, to the world's best shaman, and lastly, the speaker and leader for the orcs. We all know Thrall, I think, and his story and character that I think truly has kept us all invested, even in his more, lower moments. But in spite of him being such a large character with such a large following, in this current era of things, it almost feels like Warcraft itself is almost tired or even afraid to use Thrall for really anything. Are they out of ideas? Are they burnt out? Were stories cut within our current story and arc with him? Or is something else going on here? I can't fully say myself, but I can give my own thoughts too. Indulge me a moment as I give my own introspectives real quick. I'll try not to be long here. Yeah, so I've been making discussions on Warcraft over here on YouTube for nearly a decade now. Yay! A lot has changed since we first got our start, and a lot still remains the same. And over the years, when you're making these kinds of videos, you start to notice patterns on why you like things, why you dislike things, and at its core, I've certainly realized what stories I've liked more in those years, and what expansions. Whenever the story has had Thrall as a vital part of it, I'm happy. When it doesn't, I'm not as happy. I mean, just look at the expansions that are my favorites, and certainly it all adds up. I like it when it's Horde-focused and Horde-themed, and it's somewhere. I like it when an expansion recognizes what I play, and why I'm playing it. Shocker, I know. I'm not playing to see Void Elves, humans, or, hell, Earthen. I'm here for the Horde. And I think both is good to have. Both is good to have factions, both the Alliance and the Horde, which War Within is majorly lacking in both. And honestly, it's making me start to not really like it at all. Very simple-minded, albeit biased, of course, but that's the entire internet. There are those who like Thrall and those who dislike him, sure. And I can obviously say that I'm a fan since I first played the Reign of Chaos.
Work complete.
There's contenders who hold that crown, sure, but it was Thrall who got me invested and kept me invested. But that's a double-edged sword right there. When the story feels like it's trying to either move away or move past such characters to focus on others, it can leave you behind and just, well, feeling jaded. That's exactly how I felt with War Within and the lack of Thrall. It has also been nearly a year since the release of my current concerns and worries on the matters of the missing stories focusing on the Horde, in favor of the, well, more Alliance-aligned characters like Illyria and Anduin, well, even Magni. I won't get too much into that, as I think that deserves its own video someday, again, but it's still an issue even with the recent Undermined patch, which is the closest we've gotten to a Horde race storyline since Battle for Azeroth concluded, which feels more like a Goblin-focused story than, well, a Goblin Horde-focused story. We got Gazlowe to help pick up the lack of Horde slack, sure, but even he feels without that Horde bite than usual. And, well, yeah, this is about Thrall mainly, but still a quick break on him for just a bit here, as I think it's important to point out the elephant in the room, that World of Warcraft is, or rather was, a story centered around the Alliance and the Horde. And what it's felt like lately is a set of Alliance-neutral characters doing everything. Or even then, it's felt like neither of the factions have felt focused on no Horde and no Alliance. Even Anduin has dipped out from the expansion, it feels like. At best, maybe we get some acknowledgements or cameos, but it feels like a far cry from how things once were. It's felt as if it's also afraid to ever return to factions just as much as it's felt afraid to do anything with Thrall. Which I guess is kinda understandable, after the divided narrative of what was basically the 4-4 in Battle for Azeroth. But I don't play to be neutral here. I play these two factions that I've grown up with, and I want to see. Even if I'm not the biggest Alliance guy, I think they deserve their flowers as much as the Horde does. And I also think hiding behind the shield that is, well, cross-faction play, which is a gameplay feature, should not hinder the story or the lore of the game. And also, factions don't always need to be Alliance versus Horde. It can mean focusing on their factions and what they're doing as a whole right now, and that doesn't mean them fighting with the Alliance or vice versa. I think it's been long enough on not centering on these guys, which I think are most certainly core pillars of Warcraft. Not even just that they are the pillars of Warcraft, they are Warcraft. Anyways, back to Thrall. I'm sure many will point out and say that Thrall has been everywhere for the past decade still, right? Oh, no, he hasn't. He has, and he hasn't. For whatever reason, Thrall, from the start to Shadowlands, has mostly just been a figurehead to stir in the background, giving commentary to what's going on, and sometimes jumping into action for a moment or two. Kinda just feels like the Horde representation go-to, but he really doesn't do anything, and doesn't really feel relevant to the story at all. He has his moments, sure. It's night and day to the Thrall we once had, who, in my opinion, wasn't everywhere, but he had a reason to be there, and let his presence be known. His two most recent best moments are when he spoke with his deceased mother in the Shadowlands, and when he addressed the orcs in the Kosh'harg in Dragonflight. And those were very, very small questlines that really didn't have a major significance on the story as a whole. They were just small little nice moments that we could enjoy, and they've been kind of what we've been glued to if you like Thrall. Which has maybe made his more past moments just look so much more bigger than before, but also just farther away of who he is now. I want that big moment for Thrall again, summoning twisters and breaking heads with his hammer again. He'll give his hammer back, by the way. It's a strange thing to say, where even Shadowlands had moments where Thrall was at least helping us face off against Sylvanas or the big threats. We don't even have that in War Within. When Shadowlands is topping you at something, it's not exactly a good thing. Perhaps Thrall's largest roles have been more outside in the media, outside of the story of the game. Mostly been in books, trailers, art, etc. If anything, the rather large commercialized points of Thrall being everywhere have hurt him the most, really. Because when you advertise that Thrall is going to be a big face for an expansion, you expect to see him do things, right? Well, yeah, and Thrall hasn't really done much of anything. It felt like because of how much he was thrown at us, that we expected that he was going to do something. And we never got that. Was this another Crexus situation where they needed somebody to simply exist to advertise something, but instead of being killed off, they were just faded out of the story? It truly feels like that's what Thrall has become of late, that he's just something to throw at the Horde players to clamor to or cheer at in the story, even though he's not even in the story. Sure, he convinces Anduin to join him in figuring out what's going wrong with Azeroth in the big War Within cinematic, a precursor of what was to come next. Then he aids an Earthen with communicating with the elements as a mentor of sorts, and he's spoken to Anduin on his father in a quick little conversation as an epilogue chapter to the end of War Within's first chapter. Nice moments, sure, I guess, but there's so little compared to the massive moments that Illyria and Anduin had in the very same story and expansion. They who had full-on arcs, and good arcs, mind you. The best we've gotten for Thrall was the short story of him in Heartlands, and I cannot stress on how much the story feels like Warcraft in every page and in every voice. It's what I wish War Within felt more like, and I hope that's where the story goes to next. And it's so odd to me that he just hasn't been like this in the recent years. I'm sure some will say that they just struggle to include him, or they just can't find anything, but if I can come up with stories for him in my own videos without much of a struggle, there has to be more, right? In Dragonflight, we dealt with the dragon aspects and their own struggles. Perhaps they didn't want to repeat what was done in Cataclysm, but those are mostly done in books anyways. It's just odd that we never saw Thrall with them, whom he had and considered them to be great friends. One of the few mortal races and leaders who has this connection, and yet we never see it. Yes, he takes an axe to Farak to save Alexstrasza, and it was a great moment and almost a nod to that, but we don't see anything more to it than that. They never really talk. And on that note, the stories bridging Dragonflight and War Within even made it feel like Thrall was to play a larger role in it too. A precursor of what was to come by having Jaina and Thrall jump into action over this odd voice they're both hearing. When announced, we were told that we would uncover what Thrall's new role would be within the Horde, and that has yet to come to pass either. And maybe it will, but the complete and utter silence on him in the first two initial patches, it just feels off. I was expecting him to be in a leadership role alongside Anduin, Illyria, and Magni, being the voice of reason and trying to keep everyone going forward when things get depressing or something. Or maybe even a secondary ear when listening to Azeroth when Magni loses said connection. Have him be the one to listen to these visions and try and keep everyone going forward when Magni loses that. If he was to have such dealings with the Horde in a new role, what does that mean? I expected him to be raised to the ranks akin to Sarfang of old, and his old rank of the Supreme Commander of Kalimdor's United Forces. Or maybe to be dubbed the War Chief again, but with another meaning behind its rank, of essentially being the Horde's military leader only. Perhaps getting his Doomhammer back like I had mentioned earlier. Finally give him that back, please. Or him just mentoring his son as they traverse Khazalgar together. I know that Durack is quite young, but hey, if Anduin can venture forth on Pandaria around that age, why not Durack? Xal'atath seemed quite focused on Thrall too within that one teaser trailer, and also Illyria. Does that mean she wants to somehow corrupt him? And with Gazlo's trip to Undermine, I fully anticipated him to reach out to Thrall, whom he has a major respect and friendship with. Even slightly hinted at in Gazlo's own short story, to aid him in their fight against Gallywix. Instead, he reaches out to Illyria when things got voided up with the Ethereals.
What the fuck?
It felt like it writes itself with how such a story on Thrall correcting yet another mistake he made and letting Gallywix remain as a leader alongside Gazlo and maybe ending Gallywix. Could have finally explained why he even spared him back then in the first place. The lack of Thrall in War Within has simply been vexing, when so many other characters are being shined on, and not him. It felt like we were almost promised we'd get something with him as one of the main hitters through the art and through the trailers. But no, we didn't get that. The carrot on the stick of Thrall mentoring Anduin or others in this fight has been there twice, and I can't help but feel upset we're not getting that remotely right now, and nothing seems to be teasing that at the moment. And I really do hate that it's making me dislike the story solely because of this. And it's not just something I can turn off too. Sometimes I really wish I could. It's not even one of those situations where he doesn't make sense to be there either. I honestly think they've done a fine enough job of including him and giving him reasons to be there. It's the opposite. They've got storylines they could have used him for, and they just aren't for some reason. The secondary Elec in the room, geez, we got a lot of Elecs in here. Is there a parade going on or something? Is Thrall's whole connection to the elements. A weird notion is that Thrall is still having elemental problems, or as the community has dubbed, elemental dysfunction, and as much as I want to say it's fixed or repaired, the story doesn't seem to know what it wants to do with this either, or touch on it at all. Which is very much parallel to how it feels like they are with Thrall at the moment. There was quite the backlash when the dysfunction turned up again in the teaser trailer. And a part of my own worry was when the simplest solution to that was to cut the storyline out entirely. Which isn't the first time they've done to Thrall, sadly. The first being was when he was to have a larger role of restoring Vol'jin in Battle for Azeroth, which I can only assume they wanted to change in favor of the story that we got with him and Saurfang. I don't really mind that one as much. And ironically, the very questline where he got captured in Torghast and got those elemental powers back was supposed to have way more meat and bones on it than we got. Again, I'm not a fly at Blizzard HQ, and speculation can be quite the dangerous thing here. But honestly, it feels like they don't know what they want to do with Thrall, or are afraid to use him. Afraid to repeat storylines with him. Afraid of maybe overusing him. Even if he hasn't been used for quite a while now. Is there some mandate now because of the heavy focus on the Horde stories back in Battle for Azeroth, that there now needs to be the same for the Alliance and their characters? That feels so wrong because we had stories for the Alliance and Horde even back then too. Or is this still because Thrall had such a big role in Cataclysm that they're suddenly fearful of repeating that in any manner or way, even when he's got other characters to have that time with now? I don't think something that old should create a fuss either, and maybe it'd be repeating the storyline, but I guess I'd rather they repeat Thrall getting his elemental mojo back one final time in an epic and great way, over them just shelving him for an entire expansion or more. If that truly was the case, that's not helped one bit, and he should have gotten another story instead if that was. Was Thrall's role in War Within scrapped? Delayed? I'd like answers at least as to what's going on with our favorite orc. I cannot speak for everyone, I truly cannot, and I know my voice can even fall in the minority sometimes. But I'll speak for myself when I say, I want more stories with Thrall. More stories with the Horde. I dislike that we're in this state of neutrality where the Horde characters are hardly represented, and should this continue, I don't think I'll be happy as much with World of Warcraft. Sure, I'll find other things in Warcraft to keep me going, and my joy going, but this problem needs to be fixed soon, I think. It doesn't feel great to not be represented, and this has me worried for the World Soul Saga and World of Warcraft Beyond. It's still an issue, and I think that the Horde needs to be represented. I think both factions need to be represented. Both the Horde and the Alliance need flowers, and this set of flowers should start with Thrall. In spite of all this, I hope that I'm still wrong, still. I hope that they've got something massive for Thrall in the midway point for War Within and beyond. Maybe he'll come with us to Koresh and they can finally correct that mistake of not including somebody when we went to Argus. Maybe they're saving his role for Midnight, or even Last Titan, or something else after this. All I can do is hope that Thrall isn't just this marketing ploy they use now to get us Horde guys and gals excited. I don't think it's going to work anymore, or a second time if you guys do this again. Don't do it. Just don't. If you're going to showcase Thrall now, you just better use him, and you should use him. At this point, let him be the big guy for Midnight, or even Last Titan. If we gotta wait that long, it's better than nothing. Put him shoulder to shoulder with the rest of the Horde leaders as they defend Quel'Thalas together for Midnight. That'd be cool. For now though, this will be my final time talking on this subject video-wise. Unless something changes, news is dropped, or the expansion has concluded and I'm going to give my full thoughts in a big review. I'm just kinda tired of repeating myself, and I don't like being this negative. But I'm just not having that much fun right now because of it, and I truly hate that. As always, what do you guys think? Do you think Warcraft is afraid of using Thrall now? Do you think we'll get anything for him in this saga? Are you also upset that he's been sidelined as I am? Let me know your thoughts down below. And please, let your voices be heard if you feel the same way that I do. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to hear more from me and my community, feel free to join us in our Discord. Or if you'd like me enough, please support me on my Patreon like these amazing folks here. All helps in keeping this channel alive and well. But until next time, my friends,